Welcome to my channel, members of the Alphabet Gang. My name is NikStarchild, and I make videos about my life as a thriving transgender man. On Saturdays, I answer questions or I talk about sex and relationships. And today, I want to talk about the kink community, or just essentially an overview of kink. So, what is it? Kink is any non-traditional sexual and intimate desire, practice, or fantasy. More specifically, it's anything that deviates from traditional romantic intercourse-focused sexual experience between two people. You know, vanilla sex. Realistically, though, it can mean a lot of things to different people. So, like, kink is subjective. It really just means whatever it means to you. But what's the difference between kink versus fetish, right? So having a kink is not the same thing as having a fetish. Unlike kink, fetishism is all encompassing. So instead of like gaining additional pleasure from a specific object, body part, etc., people with a fetish are unable to gain any sexual satisfaction unless that thing or action is present or completed. All right. So a place to I would say most people have kinks and some people have fetishes. With that definition, a good place to start if you're like, wait, but what is a kink? How does that manifest? What's not traditional sex? I would say traditional sex is missionary, a cisgender man, a cisgender woman having missionary sex. Just that, nothing else. So a way to kind of like roll yourself into kink, like the first parts, and this can, you can get more complicated or more challenging as you go into it, but the big ones would be like erotic talk, some sexy talk, edging, getting someone really close to orgasm but stopping right before, spanking, which is pretty common. I think probably one of the most well-known kinky things is spanking. Impact play, which is a part of spanking. Spanking is a part of impact play, rather. And impact play is where you do some type of impact on the body. It could be punching or slapping or spanking or whipping or things like that. So impact play. Role play, so taking on a new character or fantasy. Rough sex. Rough sex can be a lot of things. That is up to the parties involved. Exactly what does rough sex mean? And you really need to talk about that in detail so you don't cross any boundaries. And then anal, right? So anal could be considered kinky, even though I feel like it's not. It's a pretty common sexual act, but according to vanilla sex, it's kinky. So those are some places to start if you are interested in exploring. Things that you want to do before you even get into the sex is communicate with your partner or partners. Establishing like a yes, no, maybe list with all your partners as well. So for yourself, write down all the yeses, all the things you're open to doing, all the no's, the things you will absolutely never do sexually, and then all the maybes, things that you might do depending on some situations. You also want to, and you want your partners to do this as well. You do it and your partners do it, and you cross-reference and make sure that you only do the yeses and you explore maybe the maybes in the future. You're going to want to establish a safe word, and that is a word that you and your partners know to either stop or slow down the sexual act, and you determine that beforehand. And then lastly, you want to do some research. So make sure you're doing research on the kink community and the kinks that you're interested in, making sure that you're safe. It's always good to research before you jump into anything, right? I think, with kink, we have to talk about a turn on, right? So people talk about turn ons all the time, and you're like, what's a turn on? You kind of know instinctively what it is, but I think we should define it. So a turn on is a person or thing that causes someone to feel excited or sexually aroused. So like tight jeans can be a turn on, right? You can also be turned on in not a sexual way. It could be just like maybe music gets you really excited and interested in something. That could be a turn on, but most of the time people are using the word turn on to mean sexual excitement. And so you get turned on, and then you want to do this act of kink or sex, and then unfortunately there's this wave of shame that comes over you. And shame is man-made. Shame is from other people, usually religion and culture, and it's put on people as a way of control and to get you to not do things that are pretty natural, and to make you feel that it is unnatural. Shame is so unnecessary. Sexuality is the most natural thing in the world, and human beings have put shame on it to keep people down and not explore themselves. The best thing you can do is to rid yourself of shame. I know that's really hard, but it is the best thing to do is to really interpret and go into yourself and reasons why you feel that shame. Maybe you need to talk this out with a therapist, what have you, around your shame, but getting to a place where you can accept that this is outside forces, this is not me, and that exploring oneself is okay as long as you're not hurting anyone else or involving minors. It's really no one's business what you're doing with your sexuality, and you shouldn't have any shame about it whatsoever. Ways to find that community, though, I think is key is to like I said about doing research, is to find your kink communities and to feel aligned with your community. You want to go find some community clubs, some online communities, some forums, some websites, some apps, right? So you can go to a play party, you can go to some sex dungeons, you can get online, you can go like to FetLife or FetSide, you can go to a munch or a slosh. Munches are pretty popular. I've done that in the past myself. A munch is like a social event for kinking people. They're typically held in like laid back locations, and usually are kind of like feature food. That's why it's called the munch. And then sloshes are similar to munches, but they're more centered around alcohol. So it's usually at like a bar or a lounge. So that's kind of the difference between a slosh and a munch, is the food or the alcohol. But there usually is no sexual activity. It's just a social environment where you can meet other like-minded people and get to know people before you interact in a kinky way. So highly suggest finding a munch or a slosh. And then, of course, there are conferences. You can go to the Exotica, Kinky College, Sex Down South, Positive Sexuality Conference, Fetish Con, and Kink Fest. So quite a few opportunities to connect with your community. With all of that to say, kink there's nothing really that interesting about kink other than it might be interesting to you as a person, right? And your interest. And I say, go forth. Go find your interest. Shame is so useless in this situation, and it's just going to hold you back. Accept who you are and rejoice in your beauty and live your life. All right, thank you so much for watching this video, Alphabet Gang, and spending a little bit of time with me. I hope that it was helpful and that you feel more educated around kink and that you're able to explore those communities if you want to. If you would like to support me in any other way, please like, comment, subscribe, click the links in the description. If you want to go above and beyond, I really appreciate you being here to support me. Being a transgender person of color and making this content is not easy, so I thank you so much, and I will be here next week with another video on sexy times. All right, see you later.